Welcome back to the week 2 edition of my weekly NFL Pick'em. I am convinced that I suffer from seasonal depression, and without the preseason and after the first week of NFL football, I just got hit with a full dose of my medicine. Plus, we had over 300 people join the Pick'em group in the first week, which is awesome. If you didn't sign up, it's not too late to stay in the running for that $100 NFL Shop gift card, because the lowest week score does get dropped from your total score. There's a link in the description and in the pinned comment. We're using ESPN, so if you're already in an ESPN fantasy group, it makes it really easy just to join in. Watching the games, I felt like my picks were all going pretty well, and then all of a sudden, all my picks threw the game. I did terribly overall, but there were a few people in the group that just absolutely crushed it. But I will save the recap from week 1 of everyone's scores for the end of the video. If you're one of those impatient folks, or you just want to get to the picks, then go ahead and skip to this time, because I've got some Madden 21 codes to give away first. Also, you can always check the description or pinned comment. I leave timestamps for each game in there. I had a live stream after the Texans and Chiefs game and gave away some Madden codes there too. The crew in the chat helped me select the most deserving Madden comment. So Drew Martin, slide on into the Twitter DMs and let me know what console you have, and I will hook you up with a Madden 21 code. And there will be 2 more codes hidden in this video too. I'm gonna try and make them a little bit harder each time. I thought last week's were hard, but they were found pretty quickly, so I will do my best to make it a little bit more difficult. And one more fan service thing here to cover before we move on to the picks. Assuming TikTok doesn't get banned, I'll be making a weekly Wednesday wallpaper based on one of the most impressive performances from the previous week. It would be awesome if you guys could come back to this video after the games and drop in some nominations in the comments. I went with Lamar Jackson for week 1 since he had a great game and he is the reigning MVP. I've always loved making NFL schedule wallpapers, but as I've gotten older and screens have gotten bigger, I don't really like all the text taking up the space. But with live wallpapers being a thing now, I found a way to still hide the schedule on the screen so that when you need it, you can just hold down on your lock screen and the schedule will pop up. At the end of the video, I will also explain how to download these and make them function as a live wallpaper on your iPhone. I'm not as sure about Android yet. If somebody has a Droid out there and wants to test it for me and let me know how it formats, that would be awesome. So week 1, remember when I said I thought the defenses would be ahead of the offenses and we might have some low scoring games? Yeah, that was completely wrong. There was a huge wave of fourth quarter scoring as the defenses were gassed. 6 teams made fourth quarter comebacks, which is the most on opening weekend since 9 teams did it in 2016. Now, we live in a knee-jerk overreaction society, so I'm going to do my best to try and keep everything grounded and in perspective here. The goal for this video is 1,000 likes. We were able to do this almost on a weekly basis last year, so I'd really appreciate that help again this year. If we hit that goal, I'll give away an extra copy of Madden 21 next week. If you don't care about Madden, which this year I wouldn't blame you, then please just support the channel by hitting the like button every week. Now let's get into week 2. On Thursday Night Football, we've got Bengals versus Browns. Now last week, on a day where rushing quarterback legends Cam Newton and Tom Brady were scoring rushing touchdowns, Joe Burrow showed the wheels that he doesn't get enough credit for, and that was evidenced by the Chargers defensive line pinning their ears back when they saw an empty backfield. But what was most impressive for me was the hesitation on that touchdown run to slow down, use the offensive line instead of just trying to book it to the end zone. This kid has got some poise. Now, their kicker, Randy Bullock, he faked his own leg injury. I'd go ahead and move on from this guy because kickers are a different weird breed, and once they're in their head like this, they're gonna get worse before they become better. Speaking of inconsistency, the Browns came out looking as disorganized and unaware as ever, and I'm running out of excuses that don't involve this franchise just being cursed. This week they even signed Mr. Double Doink himself, Cody Parkey, and it almost feels like they're trolling us all. With a divisional matchup of number 1 overall picks at quarterback, there's more than just a win-loss record on the line in this one. I'm talking about bragging rights, trash talk material, and setting the tone for a rivalry for the rest of these guys' careers. To put it bluntly, the pressure is on Baker Mayfield at this point, and he better put the team on his back if he doesn't want to be known in Ohio as Joey B's little bitch. I swear, I'm handing out L's to the Browns for the rest of the season if they lose this game. Browns win 21-14, no field goals for either team. Giants versus Bears. The Giants offense didn't look terrible at times against the Steelers, considering the Steelers defense is one of the best in the league. The Giants offensive line has been terrible for a while though, and it's just such a random assortment of talent. But oh, Danny Dimes, bless his heart, you just can't end your best drive of the night with a ridiculous throw into the end zone like that. While this Bears defense isn't what it used to be, they still have that guy Khalil Mack. Now, Bears fans were not happy with my reluctance to pick them in their week 1 matchup against the Lions, and I was right for about 58 minutes of that game. But then Mitchell Trubisky came through in the 4th with an absolute dime to secure the comeback win and hold on to his job for a few more weeks. like the little cockroach he is, man. But this drama with Allen Robinson needs to get worked out, and it sounds like they're at least trying to make it seem like that, because if Trubisky's going to succeed, it's going to be because Allen Robinson is all the way bought in. I did call this during draft season when looking ahead for the Bears, and y'all said he wasn't going anywhere. Well, how the turntables have turned. Allen Robinson is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the league. I mean, Christian Hackenberg only got drafted by riding the hype from one season of playing with him at Penn State. Robinson could come out and dominate in an attempt to get one of these top wide receiver contracts in the offseason, or he could implode the Bears offense from within in an attempt to get traded to someone who will pay him now. But who wants to get traded in the middle of a pandemic? Bears win 31-21. Falcons versus Cowboys. The Falcons are one of the teams I'm trying not to completely overreact to based on 1 week, but after they let the Seahawks come across the country and punk them in their own stadium, I wouldn't blame anybody else for jumping off the bandwagon. Mike McCarthy and company found out quickly that opponents won't be mesmerized by the level of talent on this Cowboys roster, and that you still have to win the X's and O's sides of things. I think the Cowboys are going to have the better coaching staff more often than not, but Sean McVay was one of the weeks where they just won't. This week, however, I think they do. Cowboys win 34-31. Lions versus Packers. So we got the fresh, spry Aaron Rodgers right out of the gate, huh? Let's see how long he maintains that production. This week, though, Rodgers gets a defense that allowed one of the more epic collapses from week 1. If the Lions let Mitch Trubisky do that to them, imagine what a hot, motivated Aaron Rodgers will do to them. Poor DeAndre Swift just blew that game with a wide open drop touchdown pass. There's no denying that. But now that's a defining play for the rookie running back, and hopefully he can bounce back to change the narrative on his young career. I think it's the Packers defense that puts in work this week. Packers win 27-17. Before I go any further, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, MyBookie, for making these pick'em videos possible. Winning season returns at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means insane props, epic bonuses, and the craziest cross-sport wagers. At MyBookie, winning season means watching live sports and betting live sports all season long. Rejoice, the NFL has returned, and that means action-packed Sundays and huge cash prizes. Get in on the action, use promo code NFLRT, and double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. Bet with the best this NFL season for your chance to win big. Use promo code NFLRT and double your first deposit. Your winning season begins today, only at MyBookie. Big thanks again to MyBookie for making this all happen. Vikings versus Colts. These two teams are in oddly similar positions as mid-tier teams trying not to fall into the lower middle tier. The Vikes defense, more like the yikes defense, am I right? Just kidding. Don't forget to hit that like button, folks. But seriously, the secondary was an area of concern coming in, but I imagined that the front seven would make up for it and that Mike Zimmer would figure something out. For the Colts, losing Marlon Mack to a torn Achilles is tragic for the guy, but it almost borderlines on a predictable outcome and why the Colts needed to draft Jonathan Taylor. But I think it's the terrible fourth quarter interceptions from Phillip Rivers for me. The Jaguars defense just caught the Colts off guard, and it's on Frank Reich and Nick Sirianni to take advantage of the holes that Aaron Rodgers exposed last week in this Vikings secondary. Ultimately, though, my expectations for Kirk Cousins to offer anything outside of a garbage time touchdown or two are beginning to reach an all-time low. It would be so poetic, though, to see Xavier Rhodes snatch a pick six off of Kirk Cousins for me in this one. Colts win 31-27. Bills versus Dolphins. I'm also coming to the conclusion that Josh Allen just is what he is. He's going to be an erratic backyard quarterback that makes as many amazing plays as he does head scratchers. Fitzpatrick is similarly inconsistent, but in a smaller and, hey, did you know he went to Harvard? Anyways, the Dolphins, they had a solid performance against the Patriots. It should be a confidence builder for them, but the Bills defense and running game might be too much for them down the stretch. I do expect a much low scoring affair here. Bills win 20-13. 49ers versus Jets. The 49ers defense got exposed by the Cardinals, but it feels like Kyle Shanahan loses more confidence in Jimmy Garoppolo after every game. Luckily for Jimmy G, the Jets are a dumpster fire, and even with the East Coast trip, this should serve as a bounce back game for them. 49ers win 34-17. Rams versus Eagles. The Rams kept the Cowboys off balance all night in their week 1 matchup, and it's pretty clear from Hard Knocks that Sean McVay spent a lot of quarantine season in the football lab and will probably have another solid game plan cooked up for the Eagles. The Eagles were up 17-0 on the team with no name and gave up 27 unanswered points. Wentz did not look good down the stretch, and the offensive line didn't do him any favors against their Alabama defensive line. But Wentz has got to adjust. He is the franchise quarterback. That 4th and 4 sack was on him because you know pressure's coming, and you have to be ready to give get it out to a check down at least. Give somebody a chance. The cross-country trip is going to negatively affect at least one of these Cali teams, so I think that the Eagles can bounce back because that's what they seem to do. Carson Wentz, like Trubisky, is a bit of a cockroach when it comes to getting killed like this. But even though I'm picking them, I don't feel good about it. The Eagles need Lane Johnson back for sure. Eagles win 24-21. Broncos versus Steelers. I think that Vic Fangio got caught up in the Steven Gostkowski memes and didn't think he would make a game-winning field goal, and it affected his clock management at the end of the game. Fangio is an old school kind of guy and went with his gut when he probably should have gone with the analytics and used the timeouts. Speaking of old school, if you needed more proof that Big Ben is as old school as they come, the guy literally needed to get hit a couple times to shake off the rust before finding a rhythm. It's clear that he's not the athlete that he used to be, but you can see the chemistry between him and Juju Smith-Schuster was back to where it was before. The Steelers defense is going to be a tough matchup for Drew Lock to put together a full game, especially if Courtland Sutton's out, but this is a tough couple of matchups for Drew Lock to start the season, and I think that he'll be better down the stretch for having faced such tough competition early on, but Steelers win this one 17-14. Panthers versus Buccaneers. The Panthers are going to be an interesting squad this year. I keep saying that, but the defense is tragic and will be the reason that they lose most of their games. But I enjoyed seeing Teddy Bridgewater with this young group of wide receivers, and obviously Christian McCaffrey is a quarterback's best friend. Teddy B is going to need to lean on his pass catchers this week though, because the run defense for the Buccaneers is tough. Last week, the Buccaneers offense hit a rocky stretch after some early success in New Orleans, but this is a great matchup for them to work out some of the kinks in the offense, and Tom Brady should be able to take advantage of a much lesser defensive unit. Buccaneers win 35-20. Jaguars versus Titans. Just like with the Dolphins in their tank season, the coaches and players didn't get the memo. I was really impressed with the Jaguars and their win over the Colts, and I would love to see Gardner Minshew make it work. He is a fun character in the NFL, and I'd love for the Trevor Lawrence landing spot to have more of a cliffhanger leading up to the draft season. The Titans win over the Broncos was one of the grittier wins of the week. From the altitude to the Stephen Gostkowski missed field goals, they didn't give up and fought down to the wire to get the job done. This is not a one-hit wonder squad and should be the favorites to win the AFC South at this point. Plus, Derrick Henry is the Jaguars' daddy. Titans win 24-13. Washington football team versus the Cardinals. The defensive line for Washington got a nice week 1 matchup, and they could feast on the Cardinals offensive line in similar fashion. In fact, the Washington D-line could be a problem for almost every offensive line on their schedule, to be honest. But I think that the Cardinals could keep it rolling, especially if DeAndre Hopkins is getting 20 targets a game. They're just the better team in my opinion, so I'm leaning towards the Cardinals win 21-17. Ravens versus Texans. The Texans play the 2 best teams in the league to start the season, which could be a good measuring stick for them moving forward, but the odds of making the playoffs are not in your favor after starting 0-2. This was a terrible game last year in Baltimore, but that's just a bad day at the office, and you've got to expect that when you have an inconsistent coach like Bill O'Brien. I expect this game though to be much closer than that one. Lamar Jackson has 3 career games now with at least 3 touchdown passes and a passer rating of 150 or higher, which is the most by a quarterback in the first 3 seasons in NFL history. This dude is just different. By the way, bold move by J.K. Dobbins to take Ray Rice's old number. I know that somebody had to, but you would have thought it would be like a defensive back or something, not another running back. But yeah, I think that the Ravens, they're just too much this early on for the Texans right now as they continue to adjust to this wide receiving core. Ravens win 23-21. Chiefs versus Chargers. The Chargers got away with a kind of a lucky one in week 1 against a much less talented team, but now they've got to face the best team in football coming off of about a half a bye week. I'm going to keep this short and brief. I'm taking Andy Reid with extra time to prepare 9 times out of 10. Chiefs win 35-20. On Sunday Night Football, we've got Patriots versus Seahawks. And, okay, Cam, I see you. Patriots offense was run heavy as expected, but I think that the real explosiveness will be as the season progresses and the passing game develops. These teams have come a long way since the You Mad Bro game, and I'm excited to see what Bill Belichick has for Russell Wilson. But if the Seahawks let Mr. Unlimited throw it around like that, I could see Russell Wilson walking away with the MVP this year. Russell Wilson completed 88% of his passes for 322 yards, 4 touchdowns in the Seahawks' 38-25 win against the Falcons, and now he and Steve Young are the only players in NFL history with at least 30,000 career passing yards and 4,000 career rushing yards. I think it's going to be the team rushing yards that get it done for them this week. Seahawks win 24-20. And then on Monday Night Football, we've got the Saints versus the Raiders, another primetime game for a new stadium opening up, but this is kind of a soft opening because this is going to be the party spot once this pandemic is over, at least for the NFL. Anybody old enough to remember that ESPN show Playmakers? Yeah, Vegas is going to be like a scene out of that every week. The Saints are coming in with a hobbled Michael Thomas, and don't underestimate the severity of a high ankle sprain. Now, I've never broken any bones or torn an ACL, #blessed, but the most serious injury I've ever had was a high ankle sprain in high school. When the doctor said high ankle sprain, I figured he must be wrong. I've had sprains before, but high ankle sprains are not just regular ankle sprains. This was crippling at first and lingered for weeks. I still went back out there too soon, probably didn't properly rehab, and I'm pretty sure I never fully recovered speed-wise from it. So if Michael Thomas is out there, he's going to be mostly a distraction, and look for Taysom Hill to get really involved as a gadget player on Monday Night Football, because you know Sean Payton likes to put on a show. But I think that the defense for the Saints is going to have to be the difference maker here in stopping Josh Jacobs and make Derek Carr beat them. Yeah, I don't see that happening either. Saints win 34-27. Alright guys, so this is how you download a TikTok and use it as your lock screen wallpaper. With my Wednesday wallpapers, you will be able to see the schedule, but not have to worry about all the text taking up the screen. So you're going to come to my TikTok page at NFLRT. You're going to find the video. You're going to click on these three dots here. You're going to slide this bottom section all the way over until you get to the circle with live photo underneath it. You're going to click on that. It's going to download. Then you're going to go into your Photos app. You're going to find the live photo in there. You're going to click on this little share button down in the bottom left, which is a box with an arrow pointed up. You're going to click on that. You're going to scroll down to use as wallpaper, and from there, the way that I have this formatted, it should fit your phone and be the most centered, but you can move it and scale it around if you want. Make sure that the live photo down at the bottom is on, and then just hit set. Then you can close your screen or lock your screen up, tap on it or push the button or whatever you have to do to wake it up so that it stays locked, and you can long press and the schedule just pops up, and then when you let go, it goes back to the regular picture. Pretty sweet, huh? After week 1 in the Pick'em group, Drew Sports is the overall leader with 14 points, only missing on the Vikings and Cowboys in week 1. So feel free to sneak into the group and take a peek at his picks each week. Right behind him, there is a 9-way tie with 13 points. Me, I had 6. Yeah, not my best week, but like I said, these teams, they threw the games on me, and I will do better. Just got to get a feel for these 2020 versions. But that's going to do it for my week 2 picks. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, comments, and subscribing. All that good stuff. Remember, the goal for this video is 1,000 likes. Please hit that button, and I will see you all in the next video.